on, Professor. Now, the logic, because that has been the concern by Nigerians. NMPC, the oil industry is saying that we're spending this huge amount of money on subsidy, 1.8 trillion naira. And then there is need to take off the subsidy, perhaps by the 1st of January next year. And then in its place, we'll be spending like 1.2 trillion naira to provide palliative. And this palliative in form of 5,000 naira each to 30 or 40 million Nigerians to cushion the impact. But the figures are not adding up. Some would say, how can you sacrifice 1.8 trillion naira for 2.2 trillion naira? Is there any logic?
There's voodoo. No, but this is, fellow Nigerians, this is the honest truth. The honest truth is that the current subsidy is not sustainable. None. And all this came about recently based on the World Bank development update for Nigeria. And I took time to read it. Yeah. Its observation is over the last 2 years, 8 more million people, Nigerians have gotten into poverty. That Nigeria is essentially not benefiting from the rise in oil price in the international market. Not much revenue is coming in. Why? Because we get this money, we are spending the same money in subsidizing what we bring in. So they say Nigeria is truly not benefiting, as it should, because of this huge, unsustainable subsidy that we're having to bear. These are their observations. What are their recommendations? Their recommendations over the last 10 years, if you look at, over the last decade, if you look at the IMF and the World Bank has always recommended to Nigerian government to remove subsidy on fuel.
And actually, we're talking about electricity as well.
Good. So the reason is, if you look as an economist, I'm not one, but you look at the numbers, look at what NNPC is telling us, look at what Ministry of Finance is telling us. Essentially, Nigeria is broke. We're not getting where we are supposed to get in. We are operating a budget deficit. We are budgeting 100 naira, but we have only 10 naira. We have to go find the 90 naira that's budget deficit. So what are the recommendations? And they are recommendations for nations to take. And it's based on these recommendations, I saw the Minister of Finance bringing up these numbers. And they still have not sat down and decided what they need to do. Part of the recommendations, the first one is, of course, increase what they call sin tax. Increase tax on alcohol, increase tax on cigarette, sugary drinks, and levy electronic transfer money, and also remove fuel subsidy. Essentially, the reason is we are not benefiting. The price of oil is going high, but Nigeria is not benefiting commensurately because we have a huge burden on this subsidy.
Right. Talking about the imperialist recommendation,